Okay,
Hello.
hello, Chili. How's your day going so far?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good as well. So you are a veteran in the military. How long have you served in the military in total?
About 4 years back to back.
Okay,
So
and
yeah,
which wars did you fight in?
I fought in pretty much every war Vindex has been in, other than World War One. So that would include uh, Vietnam, the military coup, all desert warfares, all the wars with Wilden, and pretty much all the wars with the rebels.
Okay, so starting with Vietnam, do you have any like war stories or anything you like to tell us
Um,
about?
Definitely the laggiest war I've been in. It was just a straight line going back and forth, just one path, and pretty much it was just a line of rebels versus a line of soldiers, and we just exchanged fire throughout the whole time.
Okay,
So not a whole lot going on there. Nothing too major. Sherlock 1010 was, of course, the general of the army at the time. He was a phenomenal leader throughout the whole war. But not a whole lot of personal things that happened there. It was just a line versus a line.
okay, and which other wars did you say you fought in? I'm sorry, I forgot.
I was in the military coup. All the wars with Wilden, pretty much all the wars with the rebels except World War One. And I was a spy during the Wild and Civil War, so I helped the current power, which King Khan. He, I helped his side out by being a spy for them.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the wars that you fought in with the rebels, were you in the Invasion of Rebel Island War?
Yes, I was,
Okay.
and there was two bases that we were supposed to take. One of them I think was abandoned, and then there was Fort White Eagle, pretty much a castle. It took about 3 hours for us to capture that, and I I think one of my good friends, Hockey Man, he received the Medal of Honor during that one. He was phenomenal throughout the whole battle, and I remember just Dragon just showing up once we captured and just saying, "Hey, let's just bomb the shit out of this place, okay?" And I thought that was pretty fun.
Nice. And which other wars did he fight against the rebels? He said he fought in multiple.
It was Fort of the White Eagle, both desert warfares, um, Shepherd's Island, of course. I forgot to mention that one, and yeah, I think that's pretty much all of them. Most of the wars I've served in uh, were with other countries, and just constant base defenses with the rebels, constant defenses with the rebels. I was there to help out with those, but there wasn't too much action going on there.
Okay. And out of curiosity, were you ever a commanding officer for any of those? And if so, what were you?
Well, I founded the Vindex Infantry, so I was a commanding officer throughout most wars, either a general or a high-ranking officer, and definitely a couple wars with Wilden. I had to make some moves that they were questionable, but overall they helped us win. For instance, the general of the army at the time, he ordered all of his soldiers to move on into a current point. I had a bad feeling about it, and what ended up happening was they got ambushed. I told my men to draw back and not and stay keep some distance between them, between the main force and the infantry, and the whole army unfortunately got it ambushed and destroyed, while my men were at a decent pace behind them. That we didn't get the full force of the what's the word of the ambush, and we were able to hold the line, and we were able to withdraw, wait for reinforcements, and then completely take over that point that we were trying to capture. So that's just one example in Wild and War. Throughout both desert warfares, the first one being more strategic, I had to lead the infantry over to all current points on the map because it was a more of an open world map, and it would take about a good 15 minutes just to get from point A to point B. And yeah, you just really had to learn how to spread your soldiers. And I believe I would, hopefully, in my opinion, I think I did a good job, but I know I could have made some better decisions over in that aspect because it was a war that we haven't really fought like in any other where it's more spread out. But I think we got the job done there, and yeah, it was definitely more of a challenging war. I can tell you that.
Okay, and with the Shepherd Island War, what happened with that?
Well, Shepherd Island was interesting. The general of the army at the time was Sherlock, and he made us march all the way from the original army base, Fort Irwin now, and as just in a we were literally just marching from Irwin to where we thought the shepherds were held out. Once we got there, um, it, the first assault was just a complete disaster. They were in a protected area, so we weren't able to hit them, but they just they were able to hit us, and we just got annihilated. And keep inventory off was over there, so we lost all of our supplies. I think like one or two guys were able to retreat, but our main force was just destroyed just because they were in a protected area. Our second assault. Oh, you were saying?
Oh, what?
I thought you said something.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Oh, okay. Um, During our second assault, a dragon teleported us up onto a cruise ship, and that was the first time the army received M16s. And because he spawned a double chest of them in, he spawned a couple chests of ammo in, and then that started our second assault. So we started like on a Omaha Beach scenario where we go in through a beach. Um, there wasn't heavy fire on the beach, for there was only like one or two guys we had to kill. Um, Once we got into the city, it was just constant urban warfare. Like you always had to check your six. You always had to make sure, like, basically, if you were alone, you were dead. Okay, you had to have at least two or other people next to you in order to make sure, in order for you to actually make some progress and stay alive. It was just there was shepherds in the buildings, like on balconies, just snipers everywhere, and you basically had to go from building to building, clearing it out, and there was no organization at all. Um, so that one was definitely just a mess from the beginning. But once again, we managed. We got enough people to take it over. And what the thing that really upsets me is that I saw Finnish soldiers just refusing to fight because they were apparently were shepherds at the time. Like they had the shepherd tag and all that, but they were just refusing to fight with the Vindex army just because, hey, they had their reasons. I don't really know their reasons, but they were just sitting on the sidelines just watching the whole thing. And unfortunately, I think one of them's a VIA agent now, so that kind of it's annoying that when, hey, you say you're loyal to one country, but then once um no, just it's upsetting that people who don't really care enough to fight are promoted, given better jobs like the VIA, and you got people who actually were in the army. Like no, I there was tons of officers who I felt should have gotten medals for their heroics, but no, they just get looked over just because hey, they're not in the inner circle of soldiers that like the main group of officers there. Like for at the time, Sherlock was the GA at the time. I had good ties with him. A couple other my friends had good ties with him, and there was just some soldiers who they were really good, but they just didn't really like want to incorporate them into the rest of the army. Like there's you can always get the army tag, you always be part of the army, but you need to get into like the inner circle in order to like to hey, you want to get CSA, there you go. Once you want to get VCSA, there you go. And some people they say, oh yeah, I've known this guy for like a while, but he's only like a captain or something. Oh, let's give him General 4 just because he's really good friends with us. Like that annoys me, but at the same time, like, hey, there's nothing you can really do about it. And once again, with these two, there was two soldiers doing it. I'm not going to give out names because I am friends with these guys. I don't want them to get any flack just because from what I'm saying, but I definitely had a bone to pick with them when they chose not to fight for us. That's kind of annoying. But at the end of the war, Omar Shepard ended up being hanged for his crimes. Apparently, once again, I have no opinion on that. I just believe Vindex is the sole country on this. Yes, I moved on to a different country just because opportunities, but I believe that once if you're going to serve your country, if you're going to serve your country like the army and the police, you stick to that country. You just don't branch away. You don't go off and join like gangs like the shepherds were, like the mobs or stuff like that. If you really care enough, you would stay. Um, so yeah,
Okay, and last but not least, sorry. May you explain to us what happened during the desert warfares?
desert warfares, like I said in the other one of the other questions, one of them was just a big open field. Um, we have a personal chat in for the military, and there's a lot of people, in my opinion, doing a lot of dumb things in it. People weren't listening to orders. People off going to doing their own thing. There was no real coordination because every only people only cared about capturing the points. And yes, that's a priority, but people ended up getting ambushed. People end up getting outnumbered. Oh, excuse me. Um, and yet it was a lot harder in the first Desert Warfare to keep the army together as a whole. Like, yes, you have, and you would have, we had set up divisions at the time, and I think that's when divisions were actually fully implemented. And okay, let's send the infantry off to these points. Let's send uh, another unit off to a couple other points, and try to spread out that way. And that ended up working out really well for us, which I'm glad it did. Um, couples. I remembered one story. I just can't remember off the top of my head. Um, that's a shame. I guess moving on to the second Desert Warfare, a lot more narrow, but still capturing points. Um, I liked how it was really open, but helicopters were a priority in that. Like once you would get like a group of guys, like 5 or 6 guys into a helicopter, you can go, and the combat was definitely a lot more intense with that because you got more people in the groups, you got more people sticking together, and it was like it was like a squad versus squad kind of scenario. Like, okay, you're going up against 5 guys, you got 5 guys. How do you get past these 5 guys, but still have enough supplies and support that you can keep pushing forward? And that definitely made things a little bit interesting, and I really enjoyed that aspect. But the combat was definitely a lot harder.
Okay, well, that's it for questions. Do you have any other war stories that you'd like to tell us, or?
Um, hmm, that's a good question. Well, I told you about the 2 guys at Shepherd Island. Um, that was really the only story I can truly remember off the top of my head. I'm sorry I can't give you more information, but
No, that's fine. You're
I'm
good.
just kind of I'm a little flat right now.
Yeah, that's fine. You're good.
All right.
Um, yeah, well, thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, have a good day.
You as well.